Good morning, guys. I'm out here in the garden. I haven't been able to make any videos recently because, I've had a really terrible time with my hip, my right hip. I can't move it. I woke up one morning and I couldn't get out of bed. The pain that I had on my right side, on the side, not the inside, the outside, was terrible. So I don't know what to do. I can't put my weight on it. If I show you, if I just put a little bit of weight on it, I get excruciating pain, dependent on the angle. Just about put some weight on it, but I've been walking with a stick, unfortunately. I wouldn't even say walking. Even the stick doesn't work, because even if I put just a slight amount weight on it, it's so painful. So I'm thinking, it must be arthritis or something like that, because it's the hip joint. So horrible. Don't know if you guys can see in the window my reflection. Basically, I can't put any weight on it. This side, I can't. You see, I can't take a long step. It has to be tiny steps. Oh, I can't put any weight on it. It's horrible when you're limited in the things you can do. Yesterday, I had to get take a bag to the shed. I couldn't move. I needed the stick or the cane on my right hand, and with my left hand I carried the bag, and then my son, he held the bag with his right hand and helped me. It was nice of him, but I felt, oh my God, my 6-year-old son helping me. His dad can't move because he's got arthritis. I suppose that's another thing added to my list of maladies. 37 now. So even getting into bed, it's very uncomfortable. I kneel with my left knee onto the bed and slowly turn around. But if I brush my leg, my right leg, in the wrong angle, I have searing pain, really horrible pain. Yeah. So what I did is I went onto a raw vegan diet. First of all, the first day I did the Mcdougall Diet, which is a diet which is starches, things like squash, potatoes, carrots, things that are meaty but not meat, no oil or anything like that. So basically it's a low fat, no oil vegan diet with an emphasis on starches. And then the second day I went fully raw vegan. So I had fruits, salads, no oil, no salt. Third day I got fed up of it, and I saw some information online about people curing their arthritis on a carnivore diet. And so I went carnivore for the morning, the afternoon, but then I was just worried about my liver. I thought, no, my liver can't take all this fat and cholesterol. And so in the evening, I switched back to raw vegan again. I'm finding out that raw vegan, like zero fat, if you compare it to the ketogenic diet, it's almost the opposite, isn't it? Because you've got high fat. You don't have to have, I suppose, animal foods, but it's mostly animal foods and high fat. It seems, at least in my mind, if you compare the vegan diet, the raw vegan diet, and the carnivore diet, they seem like polar opposites, but actually they're exactly the same. And so then you might be thinking, what are you talking about? They're exactly the same. My theory is that, you get with these, the SAD, or the standard American diet, or the standard whatever Western diet, you eat meats, vegetables, junk food, processed food. You eat basically everything. On a carnivore diet, you just eat meat. On a vegan diet, you just eat fruits and vegetables. It's that simple, isn't it? We evolved, though, not to eat, obviously, junk food, but we evolved to eat one type of food at a time. If you think about it, if you're in a jungle somewhere, in the countryside, in a forest, what the hell are you going to eat? You tell me, what you're going to eat. There's no supermarket, no local food store, no McDonald's, nothing. What is there available? So I look around me, what's available? What's available are plants and animals, okay? There are a few ducks over there, there's pigeons, there's, I don't know, rats, mice, deer. That's all I have access to. And now we have access for this short period of time, since the Industrial Revolution or whatever, we have access to lots of different types of food. And this isn't good. Why is it not good to have access to lots of different kinds of food? Well, number one, we have access to a lot of junk and processed food. These diets like the carnivore diet and the raw vegan diet, they get rid of all processed food, and so you end up feeling healthy because you eat natural food. Because processed foods are very unhealthy, and they damage the body in many ways. First of all, they make you fat, increase chances of disease, but I suppose that's not a real answer. Junk food is unhealthy for you. Why is it unhealthy? Why would it be unhealthy for you? It's still food. The body doesn't see junk food and a piece of meat and a piece of vegetable any different. In a sense, it sees it as the different chemicals, different compounds, and it has to break them down, and it uses what it can. Okay, that's a very simple kind of explanation. But the thing is, junk foods have compounds and ingredients that are very detrimental to our health. So, okay, just take junk foods out of the equation. If you think about it, we were eating, either vegetables, and when I say vegetables, I mean every type of vegetable: leaf, flower, root, fruits, tubers, all these kind of things, from the starchy vegetables to the not so starchy vegetables. And we were eating meat. Basically, the human beings were eating anything they could bloody find. Animal products would be, worms, insects, anything that is alive and that moves. And so throughout our history, that's what we've been eating. One could argue that, we didn't eat meat many times a week as we do now. Okay, fair enough, but our bodies are adapted to eat meat and plant material. Or you would have thought so, because that's what the human being had access to. Definitely didn't have access to McDonald's or Kentucky Fried Chicken or, biscuits and stuff like that. Okay, we're in agreement there. Why is the carnivore diet the same as a raw vegan diet? When you see accounts online of people doing the carnivore diet, I see that they healed or reduced their fatty liver. Their CRP or inflammation scores are like 0.3 or something like that, really low. Their diabetes markers have gone down as well. Everything has gone down. And it could be maybe that inflammation is a cause of many diseases. And these two diets reduce inflammation. How do they do that? Or how are they similar? My theory is the combo theory. I've said that before. Maybe people who haven't heard me say it, I'll summarize. It took me half an hour to bloody get up. The combo theory: fat and carbohydrate. This is the combination that causes problems. You can go home now. So that's the essence of my theory. If you combine carbohydrates and fat at the same time, at the same meal, that's where problems occur. Doesn't smell of anything. So why would problems occur if you mix carbohydrates and fat? Because in nature we didn't have access to both things at the same time, both types of food at the same time. We either had access to plants, as you can see, or we had access to animals. I don't think millions of years ago, Zog or Zig or whatever, Neanderthal or cavemen and women, if they could, let's say you can magically put a plate in front of them, what would they stuff that plate with? They wouldn't stuff it with potatoes, broccoli, cheese. Okay, that's processed food, forget about that. A nice chicken leg. No, they wouldn't. Well, they might, but that wouldn't happen too often because you wouldn't have access to meat every day. So you would, most of the time, I assume you would eat plant food, roots, leaves, as I said, the odd berry or fruits when they came into season. And then when, parts of the tribe, the men went out and successfully hunted an animal, they would bring it back home and they would share it with the tribe. And so in that moment, you might have, a little bit of monkey or deer meat with some vegetables. Yes, maybe. But most of the time, you'd be eating one type of food. You'd be eating vegetables or starchy vegetables or fruits. And then occasionally you'd be eating meat, maybe once a week or whatever. So you might be saying, how do I know that? Well, I don't know. But I did see a documentary where some guy followed the tribe maybe in the Amazon somewhere, but a place where they still live that kind of caveman life. And that's what they did. The women were picking up, digging up tubers and, like starchy kind of vegetables, because you can pick up lots of plants that grow above ground, but they're not going to have many calories, whereas things like similar to potatoes or tubers have more energy, they're more meaty. And so you would see these women doing their work, washing up or whatever. Then the clip changed to the men. They went out to hunt, and it took them days. They hunted a monkey. They killed a monkey, and then they hunted a wild boar, a wild pig. And I'll tell you, it was a group of, 6 or 10 of them. They couldn't chase these animals down, no way. They had to find a way to trap them, and they still had to run after them. And I don't know how much energy they expended, but they used up a lot of energy just to catch like one monkey and one wild boar. They took these animals back, and they had a feast. One monkey and the wild boar between about 20 or 25 people is not a lot, and so it took them maybe a week or 10 days, to get just those 2 pieces of meat. It just goes to show you that in all probability, our ancestors didn't eat meat every day. Of course, they ate meat to sustain them, but they mostly probably ate something that they can find every day, like vegetables, fruits when they're in season, starches, plants that grow above ground. Of course, the odd bug, worms, things like that. Basically, humans just ate, and we still do. We eat anything that's available. If McDonald's is available, we'll eat that. If we're in the wilderness, there's no food, we're starving, and we see a worm, we'll eat it. Don't worry. We're adapted to eat animals, primarily maybe plants and animals every once in a while. Ouch. Now, what's this got to do with my theory? So my theory is our bodies have evolved to eat meat. Meat has fat and cholesterol inside it. So we can eat meat and food that has fat inside it, mainly meat. Because when you eat meat, it comes with fat. Or we can eat carbohydrates from plants, fruits, things like that. You either have one or the other. The problem with having both, or the combo, at the same time is that it messes up your system. I know it's not a very scientific way of putting things. For example, the vegans have their idea of, I think it's intracellular lipids. That's the problem. That's why people get diabetes, because within the cells you have fat, intracellular lipids, I think, or something like that. When you eat a carbohydrate, insulin that comes from the pancreas goes into the cell and can't get into the cell because of the fat. And so the messages get sent back into the pancreas to produce more insulin. And the cycle goes on and on and on until hopefully you can take the fat away from the cell, like if go on a vegan diet or whatever, and you can have loads of carbohydrates and your insulin levels stay low. But that doesn't make sense, because the carnivores or the doctors have another theory. So the carnivores, or the keto people, or mainstream medicine, they say that the body's inability to digest carbohydrate. It can't take carbohydrates anymore. So what they do is avoid carbohydrates and eat fat. Well, that's the idea. Sure, if you avoid carbohydrates, then you won't have any insulin spikes. But the vegans, they say that if you do that, you still have an underlying problem. You actually make the problem worse. And then one day, if you challenge yourself, you have a glucose tolerance test, or you eat a banana, let's say after 6 months of going keto or carnivore, you say, okay, I want to eat a banana or some honey. Your insulin will go through the roof more than anybody who's been on a high carb diet, because the intracellular lipids, the fat in the cell, has been taken away. And so the body can work more efficiently. Insulin can get into the cell and generate energy or release energy or whatever it does. And so it works better. So your insulin doesn't spike so much. It just spikes and then goes down nicely. But if you avoid carbohydrates... Oh, so cool. A nice ladybird. But if you avoid carbohydrates, as the carnivores or the keto people do, you could be making the situation worse. Those people say, well, okay, I'll never eat carbohydrates again. So what? But some people have actually done the keto diet. And after this guy, he was a type 1 diabetic. And he did the keto diet. After a few months, he had to still take insulin, but a lot less. And he thought, everything is going well. But then at some point, even the insulin he was injecting wasn't working. His body rejected it, and he was in trouble. And then he went on to a raw vegan diet with lots of carbohydrates, and that fixed his problem. At least his insulin was working and his diabetes markers were down. Maybe because of that thing, the fat in the cell, has been cleared out. The thing is, some guys that do the carnivore diet, when you check their inflammation levels, their CRP, it's really low. Some people say that the root of all our diseases lies in inflammation. If you can get inflammation down, you can reduce many diseases. Also, weight loss. If you lose weight, for example, fatty liver, how can you cure fatty liver? By reducing your weight by 10%, you can heal fatty liver. By reducing your weight, you can fix gastroesophageal reflux disease, or GERD. By reducing fat, basically by losing weight, it helps with many disease processes, by shutting many disease processes off. And that's what the carnivore diet and the raw vegan diets do. Or even the Mcdougall diet, the starch-based vegan diet. 1, lower inflammation. 2, lose weight. 3, they eliminate junk food, fast food, and any processed food. So in a sense, they're all the same, aren't they? Definitely the carnivore and the raw vegan diet they have the same kind of goals. Reduce inflammation. They both reduce inflammation. They both help you to lose weight. They both not reduce, but they eliminate all the junk, which is, has an impact, a negative impact on the body. And so how do they do this? They do this, as I say before, by avoiding the combination of carbohydrates and fat is the problem. If you look at junk food, okay, I've been on the boards, the forums in the past or on YouTube, and you get guys, you have biases on both sides, the vegans and the carnivores, the keto people. I think one of them said, look, they were talking about chocolate. Junk food like chocolate, pizzas, things like that have so much carbohydrate, and that's the reason why we get sick. Like, look how much sugar there is in chocolate. Yeah, but hang on a minute. Look how much fat there is in chocolate. Look how much fat there is in a pizza. And at least this guy, failed to realize it's the combination of carbohydrate and fat, like the 50-50 combination, like tiramisu or another dessert, trifle, or lasagna. Any of these foods, most of these foods that are delicious and addictive, you'll see they have a 50-50 or 30-70 or whatever. They have that combination of fat and carbohydrate. Why? Because fat and carbohydrate is the most addictive combination. Just imagine, you eating, I don't know how long it's going to take for me to get up. So just imagine eating, having a bowl of whipped cream and another bowl of sugar, okay? How many tablespoons of whipped cream can you eat before you get really satiated? 2, 3, 4 tablespoons maybe? Maybe not even that. It's really thick and really fatty. Wow, that took me 10 minutes. So another day passes and you do another experiment. You try the bowl of sugar. How many tablespoons of pure white sugar can you eat? 1 tablespoon? Okay, 2 tablespoons, 3 tablespoons maybe? And then you'll feel sick, absolutely sick. Now combine them. Combine the cream and the sugar and make ice cream. You stick that in the fridge. You can eat a whole tub full if you're hungry. Let's say you eat half a tub full, okay? If you've got nothing to eat, later on in the day, you'll go back to the fridge and eat the whole tub and a second tub if you have no food. Because it's that combination that is really addictive. You can't stop, basically. Or you definitely will eat more than if you just had access to one of those, either carbohydrate or fat. The reason that this combo is addictive, I think, has an evolutionary purpose. Most of our time spent here on this rock, on this planet, we usually go through periods of famine. It's mostly famine, then you have feast. What I mean to say is, when the men used to go out for the hunt, they would come back with a kill every a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks or whatever. And so most of our time we've been in either a fasting mode and eating one type of food, and then that we would feast. Now we have junk like fast food, outlets, and processed foods like biscuits, like desserts, things that are created in the kitchen and, sold in supermarkets and restaurants. And these foods are highly addictive. Tasty. They're very tasty. Like a trifle. Why is it tasty? Because it has that combination of carbohydrate and fat. This carbohydrate-fat combination is what kills us. One, because it's addictive and you end up having too much of it. Two, the combination itself messes up or interferes with our internal plumbing. That's a very scientific way of putting things. And so the reason why it's so addictive is because suddenly you have an abundance of nutrients. You have carbohydrates and fat, and the brain, we still have our caveman and cavewoman brain, and we think, wow, let's get as much food into our body as we can for famine, because famine is just around the corner. But the famine never comes. It's always feast. And so you're basically telling your cells to grow, and there are fun times, there's lots of availability of nutrients, of food. So procreate, have sex, grow. There's not much emphasis on DNA repair or maintenance of cells and getting rid of old cells. No, it's just growth, sex, and just having it. Basically, the body has a good time. It's party time. Feast time, and this is unnatural. We haven't evolved for this. We haven't evolved to have a feast every day. And so I suppose our bodies can adapt, but they haven't been able to adapt because the standard American diet or the Western diet has all these types of meals where you have carbohydrate and fat combination, and you can see it's killing us. Diabetes, heart disease, cancer, all these diseases seem to go away or diminish once you try one of these two diets, either the carnivore diet or the raw vegan diet or the cooked vegan diet. But when I say vegan diet, I mean without the oil. So you switch on two different pathways. You switch on either the fat burning one or the carb burning one. So when you eat lots of vegetables and fruits, you up your glucose, and so you're burning glucose, you're burning carbohydrates. When you eat lots of meat, cholesterol, fat, you're utilizing the fat burning pathway. So there's no confusion, but the combination causes confusion inside the body. This theory explains to me why how can the vegan diet help to heal or put into remission diabetes if you're eating lots of sugar? It doesn't make sense, but it does make sense when you think about this combo theory. The combination of carbohydrate and fat is bad. Carbs on their own are not bad. And then the combination of fat and carbohydrates are bad. It's not fat in itself that's bad. Or should I say, the body can run on fat and meat. It seems to be healthy. I just read, yesterday and the day before, some guys going on the carnivore diet and they completely wiped out their fatty liver gone, CRP, inflammation down, diabetes gone. But that could be because of weight loss. They lost a lot of weight, and even their some kind of heart markers were down. So I'm thinking, maybe I'm just gullible, but I'm thinking, okay, it works, but the vegan diet also seems to work. So there must be something in common. And as I said, they do have a few things in common. They help you to lose weight. You don't eat so much junk food, or you avoid junk food completely. You use only one of these paths, the fat burning path or the carbohydrate burning path. They utilize only one of them, and so it makes things simple for the body. It's not confusing. I don't know, and it's not a very scientific way of putting things, but this is all I know. I'm not a scientist.